Okay. For you guys, it's been like, I don't know when you watched the last video. I think I posted it maybe last week. I have a very large closet turned into a podcast space. I'm nervous about getting back into this. I'm just trying to warm myself up, but had some interesting dreams last night. And the reason I keep talking about future wife is we need to follow my ability to do miracles, right? And to be a part of the miraculous. It's one thing that I do a lot of miracles. It's now another thing to do them dependably. And then, as my friend says, to scale up. So I've given a lot of people the gift of miraculous. From what I've been hearing from other prophets, they're soon going to be more than just hold them. It's really hard to get people who have the gift of miracles to like engage, and I didn't really see that coming because my old friends from California were really big on engagement. Like we just would interact with people, we would socialize, and that's me, right? The moment I was able to do miracles, the moment I learned that I could pray for things and that God would be responsive, I prayed for a lot. And then there was pushback. Oh, you should only ask God for what you need. And I'm like, according to what? Well, that's good manners. According to what? The Bible is the premise of social interaction. And then, finally, after so many years, I was able to get the 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit. And then it turns out that God limits them while he trains me up, which is fine. I've learned a lot. God definitely allowed me to stumble a lot, which was good because you learn, in addition to learning how to ride a bike, you learn how not to ride a bike. Can you ride your bike through mud? A little bit. Can you ride your bike through the ocean? No. Can you ride your bike on an empty stomach? A little bit. So the future wife stuff is important to me because it's one of the 3 dreams, right? To have a wife, to be married, to heal my parents, and then to work in the miraculous. And so I've done a lot of healing with my parents. They're still not healed. God said, because I started to politely give up. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should get used to the idea of my mother dying and going to heaven. And then I had a clear as day prophetic vision where I saw this empty like cube inside my mind full of light, and God said, when you're done healing yourself, you will heal your mom. I was like, oh, okay. Let's see what else. Knowing that I had a problem with the satanic was really good, because I thought I had a problem with pornography, but it turns out I have a problem with the satanic that wants to push me towards, if the pastor who started me on this quest was right, push me towards worshiping demons. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do that. I don't have an instinct to worship anyone. I don't have an instinct to be worshipped. That'd be like asking me if I had an instinct to drink rocks. The answer would be no. So the dream was interesting. I was at the barber shop, sitting in the back, and there was this black gentleman, and he had like this very intricate hairstyle. I was like, ooh, that was an interesting hairstyle. And he was kind of sizing me up, and he said, do you know how to fight? I was like, yeah. Like I don't like to fight, but I know how. Doesn't mean like I'll win against 3 people, but against one I can fighting's really different in real life. First of all, a lot of people jump you. Second of all, a lot of people work out a lot more, so they have stronger muscles. I do know how to fight. That doesn't mean I'm going to win, but I can handle my own, I guess is a good way to say it. I can handle my own. That doesn't mean I'll win. That doesn't mean I'll ever win. That doesn't mean I think I'll ever win. That doesn't mean I want anyone trying to prove I can or cannot fight. But in the dream I go, yeah, I took a year. I said 2 years, but I meant 2 semesters. I took 2 semesters of kickboxing and 2 semesters of kung fu. Like, yeah. And he like went away. And so I think this is my running hypothesis that this is very difficult for future wife, because I'm used to working in miracles and I don't think she is. So I think this is a lot. I think she's getting impressions of all this miraculous and nowhere. No one that really understands that it's like Christianity that's moving. And then it's been so long, I imagine how you could like lose face. Sorry, I'm like shaking my foot. That's probably shaking my camera. And then it was interesting. There's like 2 swimming pools, like a swimming pool you'd pull some laps in, but it was also blue tiled, which means like subconscious. And it was Wednesday Addams and the werewolf girl. And so Wednesday Addams was dropping these like silver piranhas in the pool to like just in the beginning of the show to protect her brother. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I'm going to save Pugsley. And so, but it was like a smaller version. So I think her younger self was tormented, probably like 5 or 6. And so maybe like another personality, it's revolting because it wants to stay safe. So it doesn't want to do anything new or trust or try. And what we learn in biology and from Jordan Peterson is when you're afraid, the fear gets to kind of take control. This is where having Jesus in your life really helps, because when you have fear, you can tap into that mana force, you can tap into that spring of life, you can tap into what the Bible really calls like the everlasting outflowing pour of spiritual water. Because it's spiritually fulfilling. So we can like eternally drink that when we get afraid or lost or sad or depressed. And then so in the pool next to her, a little higher up, it was the werewolf girl who's like more cheerful and happy and full of life and pizzazz. And she had a rapier, and the piranhas would like come up and she'd just smack him. And then she picked one up and she's like, oh, it looks like a dog. And she dropped it and it had like silvery yellow fur. So I think there's a processing that's happening. And I think part of herself has accepted Christianity and Christ, but there's still a war. There's a lot of turmoil to get through. And then there was an ice cream shop, and I was like giving ice cream out to these girls, and I started running out. I only had sherbet left, and sherbet's great, but like usually when you go to an ice cream shop, you want something exotic. I was like, oh, we only have a little bit of sherbet left, and the ice cream was kind of starting to melt. And someone's like, do you have any ice cream? And I was like, oh, I have a little bit. I have these raisins over here, and I have these like nuts that if you cracked them open, they were like cranberry raisins. She's like, no, I don't want that. I'm like, well, let me go check the back. And I went back, and there was it was like light coming through windows. Almost reminded me of like a lighthouse or something. I don't know. And I came back, and 3 of the girls, they were like in the darkness. So I think they were subconscious fragments of personalities. They were like crying and screaming at each other and yelling. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of drama. And I was talking to the girl on the left. And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, sometimes there's just drama wherever you go. And then I saw her like running really fast on all 4s, trying to get out of this like Halloween forest. It was like, it reminded me of like an amusement park, but also like the forest that you'd see like outside of Disneyland maybe. And then like someone was wearing like these cat ears, but it was like a glow. Like if you took those glow tubes and like turned to cat ears, and she was like trying to get out of there. And this part of her face was like in a cold sweat. And she's like, I have to go. Or I've got to get out of here. And so that was interesting. But so what it seems like is she wavers between believing that I'm coming and believing that this is all just a figment of her imagination, and then proceeding to act like a normal human. And so when she goes away, then God's like, all right, well, she's leaving because God has to take us seriously. So I'm going to move Josh towards a different wife. And then once she's done doing whatever it is that she wants to do, she's like, oh, crap. Because it definitely is a war between two hearts. And eventually you have to choose. Jordan Peterson talks about that. He says, we want to stay this like ball of potential. Like I have all these options, but eventually you have to take an option and grow that option. Otherwise you're going to not have options. And I really liked that. He and a lot of other people talked about how society tells you have fun in your 20s because after your 30s, like it's all boring. And a lot of people say, no, in your 20s, like buckle down, finish school, get your job. And then the rest of your life is whatever you want it to be. And that's much better. But that was it for the dream. I kind of felt it was coming because suddenly it seemed like I might potentially marry someone else. Like these things started to come up. I was like, why is this coming up? Why am I like suddenly seeing like someone else I might marry? Because my mind wasn't there. My heart wasn't there. I'm like, oh, I haven't had a dream about future wife lately. So she must be off gallivanting around. Which is fine. I'm not disgracing anyone for acting like an appropriate human. But eventually we all have to choose, like, are we going to follow Christ and take our dreams seriously? Or are we going to play at being human and do whatever we want in polite society? I'll make another video. So anyways, I think that was it for the dreams last night. Let me check again. Oh yeah, I saw like a baseball diamond, and it seems like I have a couple more things to do before we meet. Or I shouldn't say before we meet, I say before the next step occurs. As much as I'd like this all to happen when I want it to happen, it's going to happen whenever, you know, God claps his hands and says, positions everyone, positions, places everyone, like in theater. So one of me had to be like Tony Stark, which I kind of already am. I do supernatural thing. I have spiritual armor. I'm charismatic. And then the next thing was, I saw myself like riding on a bicycle doing nothing. So that's kind of what I'm already doing. I have this like process where I'm trying not to be like a plebe. I'm trying not to just like, there's part of my subconscious that just wants to do nothing. And I get it, because like my childhood was very much war. And so the child in me that went through that's like, I'm not going to do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. Because that part of me is always ready to go back to war. And then the third part was I needed to lose weight. I needed to get my abs on. Apparently future wife is way into abs. So diet and exercise is coming up next. This week I have to pay bills. Next week I can start a gym membership. Yes, I'm still going to do workout at home, but I need a gym membership. I need a place to go and lift weights. So we'll see. And then I had another vision where once I was done filming for tonight, I received a red letter. Like there was a pretty red envelope. So that was kind of cool. So we'll see what happens there. And that's it for future wife. Let's see what else I got. I'm going to spend today just kind of getting back into the swing of things.